Well, um, you can consider Veleno a real living entity in a profoundly significant way. While the music project was originally born as the idea of paying tribute to the original Norwegian black metal scene of the late 80s and early 90s, in the beginning it consisted of a single EP of 4 or 5 songs simply called Veleno, and the project should have ended there. This was the original idea born around 2020 during the COVID-19 pandemic. But after writing the first songs, the project was stopped for about a year and a half, mainly due to lack of inspiration and other things in my life. But in May 2022, almost by chance, I started listening again to those tracks and I thought, wow, it would be cool to finish these songs. But of course, I decided to put a new concept on the project, something more personal, and I decided to tell different kind of stories, while of course maintaining the initial spirit and the mark I wanted to give to this project. Personally, I listen to very different musical genres, not just metal, but this certainly represents a large portion of what I love to listen to, so especially extreme metal. But I try not to take cues from others and to tell my version of the story and put my own trademark on the music I write, so it is pretty useless in my opinion to give the world something that already exists. But for sure I can say that talking about music, early Mayhem, early Darktron, Burzum, of course, Children of Bottom, and tons of punk bands are the main influences into the music I write. Actually, I don't care so much what other people think. Surely singing in my own language probably makes it less commercial in the worldwide music business, but this is black metal, and that's what it is. I choose to sing these songs in Italian to make something different compared to what I've done in the past and to be able to express myself in a more complete and clear way in terms of the message I want to send, but it will certainly not be a constant. I have already recorded a couple of new songs and those songs are in English, so it all depends on the kind of inspiration I have at the moment. Well, everything begins from an emotion or a set of emotions, which is what characterizes this human existence after all. Mostly it all starts with something I wanted to get out of my chest, or by something that somehow affects me in one way or another, or just something that I think needs to be talked about to shake consciousness on these times where everyone is sedated by the system. you know. Uh, in the end, I follow the process that arises within me and let it guide me in everything and for everything. I do everything that needs to be done to let the thing out. As I said before, I let myself be guided by what comes from the depths of my being. Uh, I let the entity takes over and communicate in all the ways it deems necessary to do. Uh, Everything else comes as a consequence. I do not focus so much on techniques. I try to be as true as possible because I want to tell the truth without any compromises. Well, Dentro nella tempesta represents a real entrance gate, the very first step into this larger story that I'm telling. It can be considered as a path through the darkness, to cross, to come out into light with Fuori dalla tomba. Uh, while the first EP deals with very personal dance and represents a real introspective journey into personal dynamics with a very primordial sound linked to the tradition of the genre I play. The single acts as a bridge between the first chapter and what will come in the near future, both in musical and thematic terms, trying always to explore an introspective dimension, but from a broader point of view, connected with the world that surrounds me and that I am forced to experience every day. If the first EP talks almost exclusively about myself, the single broadens the considerations to include me connected to the world outside. I'm not someone who really likes people in general, so it's not difficult for me to work alone and stay focused. When I do it, I go very, very deep in it, and I'm willing to give everything to art. It is pretty difficult for me to find other people who have the same fire inside. Basically, I consider myself a lone wolf, with various flashes of misanthropy here and there. So my flame stays lit for these very reasons. I try to avoid that wrong people polluting me with their shit. However, this doesn't mean that I'm not open to advices or constructive criticism. Actually, the instrumental part of that song dates back too many years ago, around 2016, 2017, but it didn't have lyrics. When I started recording it, I was very interested, and still I am, in the social aspects of everyday life. What is happening in the world outside, how the world will poison us, and essentially it wants to be a representative picture of what our society is becoming and live outside the grave that they have built for each of us. So the message is basically to follow your own path and think with your own head. Computer programs, I practically use Studio One. I find it to be a really well designed and versatile software with lots of really useful plugins in it. For drums part, I use Virtual Drummer Brute by UJam, which is such a great program. For the rest, I mainly use two guitars, a BC Rich NJ series, which is my main guitar, and LTD Alexilayo 600. I think these guitars has the perfect sound for what I wanted to play and best express the sound I want for my songs. Then I've got an old bass that I recovered, then a small keyboard that I use for synth and piano parts, and of course a studio microphone for the vocals. Well, the second EP will be released in early December 2023. Um, I haven't officially announced it yet, but it will be done in the next few weeks, so tune in to the Veleno's Instagram page. Uh, what I can tell you about this is that it will be very deeper and darker than everything I've done before. A really intense and insane shade of darkness that I have never explored before in any of my past projects or songs I wrote. So uh, you will find tons of darkness in it and love, of course. What else can I say? Well, literally, there will be blood. What I hope every time I publish something I have created is that it reaches the depths of the soul of those who listen or read something I have created, and that it leaves a trace in some way in the listener or in the reader, like a seed, grafted into the soil which can sprout. Uh, what will grow depends only on who allows this seed to germinate and take life within himself. But, what I wish for everyone in general is to free themselves from chains and become aware on multiple levels in this life and not place any limits on themselves, because limits exist only in our heads. So free yourself.